Imagine finding a human skeleton sealed in an ordinary suburban chimney and then learning that the DNA matches no one who ever lived, at least not according to any known record. Content warning. This story involves the discovery of human skeletal remains in a residential setting, unresolved missing persons, and forensic investigation. No graphic details are given, but some content may be distressing. Viewer discretion is advised. Imagine you're just starting your dream renovation, dust mask on, tool in hand, that warm California sun slanting through an east-facing window. It's April 24, 2019, and you've just closed on a two-story Victorian in the heart of Sacramento's Elmhurst neighborhood, a place mostly known for tree-lined streets, famous local bakeries, and the rare charm of a community where everyone says good morning. But today the house is silent, save for the whir of electric saws and the thunk of hammers. The chimney, a relic of 1920s construction, slightly askew but full of character, hasn't worked in years. The previous owner, an elderly widow, claims she never used it since moving in 1978. Today, your contractor, Miguel, is tasked with opening the long-sealed hearth to patch up water damage and restore some old-school charm. He's cheerful, chatty about his own grandmother's chimneys, growing up in Guadalajara, when his tone drifts. Suddenly, the room sharpens to a hard edge.
Mr. Connor, can you come here? Now?
You hurry over, weaving between floorboards and open paint cans. Miguel, usually unfazed, stands frozen, pointing wordlessly. Wedged within the crumbling brickwork, a mass of ragged cloth and something else, dull white, strangely shaped, peeks out. It's not an animal skeleton as you first hope. The proportions are unmistakable. A rib cage collapsed upon itself, a human femur jutting through sooted cloth, and the unmistakable hollow sockets where eyes once belonged. A hush falls, broken only by the distant siren, a sound suddenly, unnervingly near. Renovation work at a local residence was halted abruptly when workers discovered human remains hidden within the house's chimney. Sacramento B, April 25, 2019. Within hours, the block is ringed by patrol cars, yellow tape fluttering in the breeze. Curious neighbors cluster at the sidewalk. You're ushered outside as crime scene technicians in white Tyvek suits enter, trailing camera flashes. Detective Nina Lopez of Sacramento PD's cold case unit stands out, with her pressed suit and sharp, unflinching gaze. She calmly introduces herself, notebook in hand.
We get about 2, sometimes 3 body recoveries a year in old houses. Homeless folks, missing persons, even tenants no one remembered. Not in chimneys, though. That's new.
As she speaks, forensics recover more. Tattered workman's jacket, rusted pocket knife, rotted canvas shoes, a faded bus transfer from 1983. By nightfall, news cameras swarm. Reporters murmur about possible mob hits, 1980s missing persons. Your phone blows up with friends and family wondering if you're safe. But what you're thinking as you watch the investigators is stranger. Who could have been in there, sealed up for decades, in a home that's never known scandal? And so, within 24 hours, the skeleton is carefully boxed, its belongings tagged into brown paper bags, and the house is sealed as a crime scene. Forensics whisper there's an initial problem. The decedent's dental records are unusual, missing teeth, old fillings, but nothing resembling local records. You overhear the word anomaly. You're left outside, under a streetlight, watching your home transform into the subject of a citywide mystery. The first stirrings of dread settle in. The days that follow blend together in a surreal montage. Police interviews, neighbors gossiping in uneasy clusters, the scent of bleach seeping through old floorboards. The city, which once greeted you with warmth, now casts sidelong glances, curiosity mingling with suspicion. April 27, 2019. The Sacramento County coroner announces preliminary findings. The remains are fully skeletonized, death likely decades old. The clothing, a blue canvas jacket and canvas shoes, match 1980s styles. But, and this becomes crucial, there's no ID. Not even initials on the personal effects. The bus transfer is so faded only a partial date is legible. June 4, 1983. It's a scrap of a timeline, but it's more than nothing. Forensic anthropologist Dr. Miriam Chu is called in. She reconstructs the cranium, noting mixed ancestry, male, likely aged between 35 and 50 at time of death. Old breaks in the left forearm suggest a hard labor's past, healed years before death. Detective Lopez's investigation spans local and state missing persons back to 1980. She pores over microfiche, visits archive rooms that smell of forgotten paper and mildew. Flyers of the era, faded photos, have you seen me? One name recurs. Peter Haviland, a handyman who lived 3 doors down, reported missing June 12, 1983. His ex-wife, now living in Oregon, is contacted. Police find she remembers bitter arguments, a drinking problem, and a sudden disappearance. But nothing linking Peter to the house. She sighs, voice crackling over the line.
Peter was erratic at the end, but crawl up someone's chimney? I can't see it.
Yet, Haviland's dental records don't match, nor do those from dozens of local missing persons of the era. Every promising lead falls apart. Dr. Chu receives DNA results from the University of California's forensic lab. They run the samples through CODIS, the FBI's combined DNA index system. Nothing, not a single match, not to any known missing persons, inmates, felons, or genealogical profiles. The DNA is, for official purposes, unmatched. Media frenzy intensifies. The working theory is an unlucky vagrant, perhaps, or an undocumented tenant. But Detective Lopez is skeptical. She subpoenas property and utility records. Nothing. The house history is unremarkable. A single mother, 2 children, before the widow took over. No sudden quitclaims, no major disputes. She interviews neighbors. One recalls suspicious activity decades ago. Some guy in a yellow truck. Another remembers a brief rash of burglaries in the early 80s, but no violent crime. The biggest break comes from UC Berkeley's genealogy lab. Dr. Lee, a cheerful geneticist, proposes a technique called SNP microarray scanning, using thousands of single nucleotide polymorphisms to build a broader ancestral map. This technique has cracked cold cases nationwide, most famously unveiling the Golden State Killer in 2018. Normally, we'd find 3rd or 4th degree relatives, even distant cousins, but in this case, there's no match at all, not in any public database, not even among distant populations, Dr. Lee says. It's like this person, genetically, never had any recorded family anywhere. Lopez reflects aloud to you, the reluctant homeowner.
No dental match, no fingerprint match, and now, not even a family tree to trace. It's as if someone plucked this man out of thin air and dropped him into 1980s Sacramento.
A tabloid reporter leaks the Chimney Skeleton mystery online, setting off rumors, mob hits, government experiments, even urban legends about people hiding in homes and vanishing between the cracks of history. Lisa Chow, a neighbor who's lived on the street since 1972, confides in you. We always thought this was a good block, but how could a whole person just disappear and nobody notice? For the first time, you feel not curious, but haunted by a ghost, not of malice, but of silence. A week later, Detective Lopez invites you to the station. She shares something rare, a look into the human side of policing.
You think the worst thing is finding the body, but it's not. It's realizing you may never get a name, never deliver answers to someone waiting. It's the not knowing that grates at you.
She shows you the caseboard. Post-its marked with no, not a match, rows of faces, all the unclaimed of Sacramento. Some families wait decades for closure. Others never do. You pause, reflect. What would it mean for you if someone you love simply never came home? If years passed and all that remained was the hope that someone, somewhere, would notice? You think of the anonymous deceased not as a gruesome curiosity, but as someone's missing son, brother, father. The case escalates when a local historian suggests a shocking theory. Reviewing old construction records, she finds that the house was built in 1924, atop what was once a ramshackle boarding house, demolished after a fire in 1920. Could the remains be even older than the 1980s? A second round of radiocarbon dating is ordered. Results show the bones could indeed date from anywhere between 1965 and 1985, narrowing but not resolving the era. And then, darkly, a chilling fact emerges. Sacramento, during the very years in question, was home to Dorothea Puente, a notorious landlady and serial killer who hid bodies in her own backyard, only 6 blocks away. Media outlets seize on this. Is this another Puente victim? Police baffled by unmatched DNA in Chimney Skeleton. But there's one last twist to come. It's mid-May 2019. The forensic team, frustrated by dead ends, takes one last crack: isotope ratio analysis. By examining the ratio of oxygen and strontium isotopes in the teeth, they hope to determine the decedent's geographic origins. The results are startling. The chimney man was likely born, raised, and spent most of his life in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, or far northern California. A local, but not quite. Detective Lopez orders another scan for missing persons from that region. Weeks pass, no answers. Then, a final forensic report lands on her desk. It notes subtle clues in the bones, traces of rare minerals only found in people who grew up near timber towns in the Pacific Northwest. More anomalously, mitochondrial DNA, passed exclusively through the mother's line, shows a rare haplogroup almost never seen outside a few isolated mountain communities. But again, no match. Not a single living descendant, not in public records, not in private genealogy trees. Every digital path leads nowhere. The Chimney Skeleton stuns the nation. The FBI quietly confirms that as of June 2019, he is the first unidentified decedent in California to undergo full-spectrum DNA genealogy and still remain a total ghost. The possibility is raised. Was the man undocumented from birth, adopted under the table, or living entirely off-grid? Or could the records themselves have failed, lost to the pre-digital era? Detective Lopez, who spent weeks living with the case, closes her file with a heavy sigh.
Sometimes the dead speak only in questions. This isn't a cold case. It feels like a lost case.
The police return the house to you. The chimney is rebuilt, bricks in memory assembled with new mortar, but the story never quite leaves the walls. The city's forensic anthropology lab publishes a paper, The Chimney Skeleton, a case study in unmatched DNA and the limits of forensic identification. Local schools teach the case as a lesson in missing persons, anonymity, and the fragile trail of memory. But the man in the chimney? He remains, quite literally, known only to himself. Summer in Sacramento moves on. The news cycle fades, new families stroll down Elma's leafy alleys, but you, homeowner, accidental witness to a hidden tragedy, make a habit of visiting local missing persons boards, wondering if somewhere, some thread remains untied. The Chimney Man is buried under the name John Doe, 2019, 224. A memorial stone in the city's cemetery quietly marking that someone once was here. A group of local volunteers holds a candlelight vigil each year, inviting anyone with unanswered questions about a missing loved one. Detective Lopez moves on to other cold cases, but the story lingers in her mind. The Stanford Journal of Law publishes a retrospective about unmatched DNA and the right to identity. Debates flare briefly online. Should we use private genealogy databases to solve every unidentified case? Or is privacy too costly a price? What is it that makes a person matter when all memory of them is lost? If names, faces, and history can vanish while the world moves on, what are we left with? From a listener comment, July 2024. And you, perhaps more than before, are changed. A little more cautious with stories, more empathetic with strangers, more aware that sometimes the scariest thing isn't a ghost in the chimney, it's a human being, vanished, unremembered. If someone can live and die in total anonymity, even in the age of DNA and data, what does it mean for the rest of us? How do we honor those who history forgot?
Don't forget to subscribe to Real Mystery Reports for more strange, dark, and profoundly human stories. New true mysteries every day.